I said yes again. All along this way, it's kind of like those stones in the river. You can only see the first one until you can't see the second one until you step out by faith on the first, and then the second one appears. And then that's what the Christian life really is. We have to follow the Lord by faith. So we said yes to Nicaragua, and let that be a warning to you. You can go on a missions trip to the same country 12 times, but do not go on that 13th trip, okay, or you'll wind up there. No, I'm glad that I did, and now we've been serving God for 8 years there. But what I feel, Pastor, and to the rest of you that holds us up is we call ourselves people of faith, and yet we don't live by it. One of my favorite animals in the world is an African impala. I saw a documentary about them, and I just thought it was incredible to see this amazing animal. I'm going to give you a little demonstration here. Now, the African impala is just a little guy. You know what I'm talking about. It looks like kind of a deer, right, in Africa. It's the second fastest land animal. It gives the cheetah a run for its money. But what makes it so incredibly elusive is its ability to jump and leap. When it's running at full speed, it can leap in one bound 30 feet. And in the middle of that leap, it reaches 10 feet. So I'm going to just kind of, so that you have an idea, if it started here, I'm going to step off 10 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So nearly from this banister to the other, it can leap that far in one leap. And in the middle, it would clear me easily. It would actually probably just clip a basketball goal at the top. That's how high it can jump. Isn't that amazing? But then the documentary revealed something extremely interesting. That African impala, with all of its leaping abilities, can be kept at bay in a zoo by a 3-foot concrete wall. And then explain why. The African impala will not leap to a spot on the ground that it cannot see. And so when I look at faithful followers of Jesus Christ here on a Sunday evening, I see a bunch of African impalas. I see people who have the ability, with God's help, to do whatever He has called you to do. But it's that little barrier of unbelief or doubt in yourself or your own abilities that's keeping you from seeking God's best for you. I know it's scary. I mean, going to Nicaragua was one of the scariest decisions we ever made in our lives. My wife and I had reached the point we were empty nesters. I was 46 years old. We were having grandchildren, very comfortable in the church that I was serving in for 18 years. They treated me very well. Our church was active and alive and growing. And yet God said, no, now I want you to go plant a church in Nicaragua. And believe me, the 4 churches we planted look absolutely nothing like the church that I left in Texas. But they are churches that would not have been planted if people like you and Jennifer and I hadn't said yes to God and we started that vision together. So I just want to encourage you, if you feel God moving to a new ministry, to here in this church, maybe there's an opening for teaching a class, or maybe they need more ushers, or maybe they need greeters at the front door, or maybe they need someone to step up with technology in the back, and you feel like you could do that maybe, but you're just a little scared to say yes, please, take a flying leap for God. And I asked before, when's the last time saying yes to God gave you butterflies? That's when you know it's by faith. Now, in Nicaragua, we started our first church plant, really not speaking Spanish very well. We'd gone to a year of language school, but let me just tell you, when you leave a year of intensive language school, you've got the building blocks to just continue to learn. And so we had the greetings down and the, invite someone over for coffee type of talk down. But as far as everything else, I mean, it took me probably a good 2 weeks of looking in the mirror and saying it out loud to be able to say Deuteronomia, which is Deuteronomy in Spanish. I mean, when you start preaching in Spanish, it's a whole different thing. But through all those weaknesses and all of those things that I couldn't do, God filled in the gaps. And He'll do the very same for you, if you're willing to simply say yes. I would say expose yourself to new opportunities for growth's sake. You will never grow if you don't say yes to something that scares you even a little bit. And that's what I see, Pastor, unfortunately, in the many churches that I travel around to are Christians who are wonderful people, and they have a wonderful life. But they're kind of like my gerbil Jerry when I was a kid. For Christmas, I received one of my favorite Christmas presents ever was a gerbil, and I named him Jerry. And my parents bought for him and me this big cage that had a spinning wheel in it. It had a little place where he could go and get his water, a little dish for food, all the straw. But it also had these little tubes. One tube led up into a little place where he could ring a bell with his nose. Another tube went up to where he could see himself in a mirror. I guess took home his hair, I don't know. And there was another little tube that would go up to a place where he could just kind of stick his head up into this round part and look out and see the world. But this Jerry, the gerbil, never did any of that. All he did, night and day, if he was awake, was run on that spinning wheel. I had to move him out of my room after like 2 nights because I couldn't sleep. And they're nocturnal. And then he would sleep, eat, then get back on that wheel. And he'd do it every day. Now, in Jerry, I see a lot of North American Christians that get into the habit of just doing the same thing all the time. You know, you go to work, you come home, you eat a little something, maybe watch a little TV, maybe talk to your kids if you got kids, help them with their homework, put them to bed, go to bed, get up, and it's just the same thing every day. But God has something bigger for you. One day I came home from school, threw my backpack down by Jerry's cage and noticed that he was on the spinning wheel, but it wasn't moving. Poor little Jerry had died right there on that spinning wheel. Some of you might say, well, at least he died doing what he loved. No. Jerry died doing what he always did. Do you want to just die doing what you've always done? Or are you willing to explore the possibilities that God's got out in front of you? Take a leap of faith. Climb up one of those tombs and ring that bell with your nose. Do something that scares you just a little bit. John 10:10 says, the thief comes not but to steal, kill, and destroy. But then Jesus, he's speaking, he says, but I've come that you might have life, comma, life more abundantly. I want to ask you, which side of that comma are you living on? Yes, you've received eternal life, but are you living that life on the other side of the comma? Have you stepped off your wheel? Are you willing to take the next step no matter what it is? Whatever God's pointing you to do? I pray so, because that's where abundant living begins. Thank you, guys.